Mr. Butler, so witnesses have testified that Canadians are paying their debts by refinancing, stretching them out over a longer period of time, by exhausting their savings, and by skimping on other purchases, including basic necessities. Is this a sustainable way to deal with increasing indebtedness?
It is not sustainable. It constantly proves to be unsustainable. We have observed in the last 18 months a somewhat alarming growth in power of sale transactions, bank-ordered sale transactions. Mortgage default rates have continued to increase. We anticipate mortgage default rates will also increase this year, throughout the year, and potentially into next year. There is just not any good way to handle extremely large mortgages, which people took on in 2020, 2021, and 2022, first quarter. As soon as the rate goes up, unless incomes have soared, there's no easy way to manage that.
Okay, so really the only way out of the debt scenario we have, which I would say also extends to the federal and even provincial deficits, is a more productive economy with higher wages, more economic growth, more economic activity, so that and until people's wages and salaries can grow into servicing these debts, it's just a spiral.
You know, the biggest change of the 30 years I've been in the mortgage business is that much more normal salaried people could buy houses 30 years ago. The difference is striking. It was quite normal for the produce manager at a grocery store and a part-time nurse to be able to easily get 5% together and buy a home and comfortably manage it quite successfully. Those days are gone. The people we see buying houses today are almost consistently, in Ontario anyway, and certainly British Columbia, they're almost consistently in the top 10 or 15% of earners in the country. Those are people buying houses. Or they're people getting massive assistance from their parents who are using some of the accumulated equity in their homes to assist their kids in buying a home. So that, you know, I don't mean to sound nostalgic, but I far preferred the old way where ordinary people making ordinary wages could go out and buy a home. So obviously there's been some stagnation in wages.
Right. How long would it take a normal person, such as you've described, a person with a good, solid, full-time job? How long would it take them to save up the minimum down payment on a home in Toronto?
Well, if we look at just the GTA, particularly Toronto, the reality is they never could. That's the reality today. Even with falling prices, even with prices have fallen like 26% in the GTA, they still couldn't. If you're running about $110,000, $115,000 income, you have to pay rent, you have to eat, you have to live, you pay taxes. You could not possibly accumulate a satisfactory down payment for a house price that's still like sort of just under $1 million.
Even if you could, would you be able to qualify for the mortgage?
You would not.
Okay, so a normal person with a normal job cannot save up the down payment or qualify for the mortgage. So we're back to now mom and dad.
In Ontario, they are absent from our practice, yes.
Absent from your practice. How about British Columbia?
They were absent sooner in British Columbia.
Some of the other larger cities, Calgary, Edmonton, that are not in
Well, Calgary may have caught the Toronto virus, so we'll see what happens.
Okay. It's really impossible to talk about the debt crisis without talking about real estate in Canada. What's happening right now in the real estate market? What's the health of the real estate market in Canada right now?
Well, the health of the real estate market is that in Quebec it's probably just starting to slow down. It was a very buoyant market. Atlantic Canada is experiencing considerable run-ups in prices, which may turn out to be against their own interests, because Atlantic Canada has never been a hotbed of massive incomes. But there's, again, this sort of virus that comes from these big cities has gone across the country. I can only suspect that there will be more price reduction in Ontario and British Columbia this year. Again, a slowdown in price appreciation in Quebec. And there will be more power of sales. There will be more people struggling to make their mortgage payments. We reached a landmark in the GTA last quarter. there were absolutely no condominium starts of any description in the GTA.
So if you can continue there, because we've continually heard that there will be housing supply and that steps the government have taken will lead to housing supply. We've argued that no, for years we've said it's going to get worse before there's any sign of it getting better. So the current health of and situation of housing starts in I guess the market you're most familiar with in Toronto.
In all of Ontario, with the minor exception of Ottawa, the housing starts, even low-rise housing, not just high-rise housing, have fallen off a cliff. That's reality. They are so low as to be dangerous to the health of the construction industry in the province of Ontario.
All right.